Hello, my name is Sean Steele. I'm a financial planner with ClearLogic Financial. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to be talking about the infamous Form 278. I'm going to put my email address up here. I'm not going to be able to answer live questions today, but if you do have a question or comment about today's presentation, please feel free to send me an email. I'd be happy to answer your question. So if you're joining us today, chances are you file what's referred to as public financial disclosures. Let me offer you both my congratulations and my condolences. Congratulations on a successful career in public service. As a former Fed myself, thank you for your service and thank you for everything you do for us. My condolences. I know that when you're filing a Form 278, the requirements are very confusing, the rules are very confusing, and the requirements are many. There's many parts of your finances you have to disclose. In my practice, we combine financial planning and investment management into a single service, and part of that includes helping federal executives and professionals prepare their Forms 278. And a big part of our practice is dedicated to federal professionals and executives. So when I'm meeting with a new client for the first time, I ask, do you have to file financial disclosures? And if they say yes, I ask, okay, do you have to file Form 450 or Form 278? If the answer is, I don't really know. I don't know which one I file. That means they file Form 450 because the disclosure requirements are so involved and the rules are so confusing for the 278 that no one forgets that they have to file the 278. So today we're going to take some of the mystery out of the 278. We're going to talk about what you have to report for yourself, for your spouse, and for your dependent children. You have to report information about your family income. You're going to have to report information about your debts, your investment transactions, and even your gifts. But as we work through this today, I'm going to point out some common mistakes that I see people commonly make. And I'm also going to point out some tips to help make your financial disclosure requirements a little easier. We'll take some of that burden off just a little. Okay? So with that, we'll get started. There are 9 parts to the 278. The key thing here to know is you're going to have to report information for yourself, your spouse, and your dependent children. And there's different parts depending on whose asset we're talking about. So in part 2, that's where we're going to list your employment assets and income. That's going to be your assets and your IRA. If you have an old 401k or an old retirement plan, that's where it's going to go. It's going to go right here in part 2. Now, we tend to think of this section as being employment assets and income. It's not necessarily limited to just things that are related to employment. Now, it might surprise you that gambling winnings are reported in this section. Now, I have no idea what gambling winnings have to do with your employment as a federal employee and what they have to do with employment. As a financial planner, I certainly wouldn't suggest gambling being a part of your financial plan. But if you do have gambling winnings, let's say you took a trip to Las Vegas and you won a hand at blackjack or poker and you won, this is where you report it, right here in part 2. Okay? So for your spouse, that's going to be reported in part 5. Okay, this is where your spouse is you're going to report your spouse's IRA, a 401k, 403b. This is also where you're going to report your spouse's salary. Now, you do have to report your spouse's salary. The rule here is if your spouse earned more than $1,000, you have to report it. So the only exception is if your spouse works for the federal government. You don't have to report that. So let me give you an example. My wife is an attorney for the Patent and Trademark Office. I work for ClearLogic Financial. My wife does not have to report her salary. My salary would have to be reported. So, because I obviously don't work for the federal government. So, the other thing to keep in mind is you also have to report assets that are not related to employment at all. So, you might have to report your brokerage account, 529 plan. You might have life insurance that's reportable. You also have to report your bank balance. Okay. So, that's going to give us the lay of the land here. That's going to give us a lay of where things are going to go. So now let's talk about what you have to report.